mentioned in the foregoing hadith is included also the person who weeps while doing dhikr in loneliness. He combines two great qualities. First, ikhlas, which makes him remember Allah in loneliness. Secondly, the fear or love of Allah, which makes him weep. Both of these things are extremely virtuous, according to a poet. My work is to weep at night in remembering my beloved, and my sleep is to remain lost in thoughts of my beloved. In the Arabic text of the hadith, Zakariyyah Kandhalvi, a person who remembers Allah when he's unoccupied. The word unoccupied, according to Sufis, has two meanings. It means in loneliness, as is generally understood, but it also signifies the heart being free of all thoughts except Almighty Allah, which is real privacy. The best is to have both forms of privacy, physical as well as mental. But if a person, even while in the company of others, has his heart free from all worldly thoughts and being engaged in the dhikr of Allah, happens to weep thereby, he will be rewarded as mentioned in this hadith, because the presence or absence of others makes no difference to him. His heart is free from the thoughts, not only of his companions, but also of everything other than Almighty Allah. The presence of others cannot divert him from his attention towards Allah. To be able to weep for fear and love of Allah is a great spiritual wealth. Fortunate is he who is blessed with it by Almighty Allah. It is stated in one hadith that a person who weeps for fear of Allah will not be sent to Jahannam till the milk goes back into the teats of an animal, which is impossible, but some scientist somewhere will try to figure that one out. This means that it is similarly impossible for such a person to go to Jahannam. According to another hadith, a person who weeps for fear of Allah will not be punished on the day of Qiyamah. It is stated in one hadith that the fire of Jahannam is forbidden on two eyes, one that sheds tears for fear of Allah, and the other that has remained awake in guarding al-Muslimin and Islam against the non-believers. In another hadith, it is stated that the fire of Jahannam is forbidden to the eye that has wept for fear of Allah, on the eye that has remained awake in the path of Allah, on the eye that has avoided the unlawful, and also on the eye that has been lost in the path of Allah. Yet another hadith states that a person who remembers Allah in loneliness is like one who goes all alone to fight against non-believers. Hadith 17, those doing dhikr of Allah, called forth as the wise men on the day of judgment. The messenger of God, divine contact upon him and wholeness, said, an announcer with the call out on the day of standing, where are the wise ones? People will inquire, who are meant by the wise ones? The reply will be, they are those who always remembered Allah, whether standing, sitting, or reclining, and pondered over the creation of the skies and the earth, and would say, O Allah, thou hast not created all this in vain. We glorify thee. Save us from the fire of hell. Thereafter a flag will appear for them, and they will follow this flag and be told to enter Jannah and stay, told to enter the garden and stay forever. An Abi Hurayrata qala Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam. Yunadi munadin yamal qiyamate ainan ulul albabe qala ayu anli albabe turidu qala ladina yadhkuruna laha qiyaman wa qu'udan wa ala junubihim wa yatafakkaruna fi khalqi samawati wal ardi rabbana ma khalaqta hadha batilan subhanaka faqina adhaban uqda lahum lawa'un fataba'a qamu lawa'ahum waqala lahum udkhuluha khalidin karajha esi hani fi targiba kadafi dar. By pondering over the creation of the skies and the earth is meant that they examine or study the marvels and secrets of the things created by Allah, and thereby strengthen their spiritual knowledge. And that poem looks like that. The whole universe is like a garden, planned and planted by Allah. Okay, must be the universe. As reported by Ibn Abi al-Dunya, Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam once approached a group of Sahaba who were sitting in silence. He asked them what they were thinking about. The Sahaba replied that they were pondering over the wonderful creations of Allah. Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam appreciated it and said, "Do not ever meditate over the self of Almighty Allah. He is beyond understanding. But do meditate over His creation." In another narration, it's clear that the eminences or the qualities or names, you meditate on that, but you don't meditate upon the essence, which, so basically the Allahut, but not the essence beyond creation, beyond what refers to the creation. It's a complex thing to talk about. Maybe somebody once asked Aisha radiallahu anha to relate some remarkable thing about Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. She replied, "There was nothing about him that was not remarkable. Once he came home at night and lay down in my bed. After a short while, he said, 'Let me pray to my sustainer.' Saying this, he got up, performed wudu, and stood up in salah, during which he wept so profusely that tears flowed onto his chest. And then he continued weeping in the same manner while performing ruku and sajda. He spent the whole night like this, till Bilal came to call Adhan for the morning prayer. I pleaded with him, 'Almighty Allah has promised you His forgiveness.' 'Then why did you weep so much?' He replied, 'Should I not become a grateful slave of my Allah?' And continued, 'Why should I not pray and weep when these verses have been revealed to me today?' Inna fi khalqi samawati wal ardi wa ikhtilafil layli wan nahari ayatin li ulil albab alladhina yadhkuruna Allaha qiyaman wa qu'udan wa ala junubihim. And that's Surah 3, ayat 190. Wouldn't that be 191? Because we're looking at two verses here. Lo, in the creation of the skies and earth, and in the difference of the night and the day, are tokens. For men of understanding, all humans, such as remember Allah standing, sitting, and reclining. Then he added, destruction is for the person who, in spite of reading these verses, does not ponder over his creation. these spiritual formulas and such. They're not for mere entertainment here. Amr ibn Qais said, I heard from the Sahaba, not from one or two or three, but from many of them, that the light and nur, radiance of faith, lies in observation and meditation. Abu Hurairah radiallahu anhu narrated that Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said that a person lying on the roof of a house was looking at the sky and stars for some time, and then said, I swear by Allah, and I believe that there is somebody who has created you all. O Allah, forgive my sins. Thereupon Allah's mercy turned towards him, and he was forgiven. Ibn Abbas radiallahu anhu said that meditation for one sa'ah, a short duration of time, is better than worship throughout the night. Similarly, Anas radiallahu anhu reported that meditation over the creation of Allah is better than doing worship for 80 years. Somebody asked al-Darda radiallahu anhu, radiallahu anha, as to what had been the best kind of worship done by her husband, Abu al-Darda radiallahu anhu. She replied, it was meditation and contemplation. According to Abu Hurairah radiallahu anhu, also, Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam had said that meditation and observation for one sa'at, a short duration of time, is better than worship for 60 years. It should not be understood from the various quotations given above that meditation does away with the necessity of the formal worship. If anybody neglects any form of worship, he is liable to the related penalty and punishment. As for a fard or wajib, if a fard or wajib is left, and so for a sunnah and mustahab, if any of these is neglected, well, fard is the required, and then there's the, well, it's best not to do otherwise, and sunnah is the tradition, and then there's what's good to do. If any of these are neglected. Al-Imam al-Ghazali rahmatullah alayh has written that meditation is held to be superior to dhikr because, in addition to the nature of dhikr, it includes two additional things, of which one is recognition of Allah, for which meditation is said to be the key, and secondly, the love of Allah, which is encouraged by deep thinking. It is the meditation which the Sufis call muraqabah, and the virtue of which is narrated in many ahadith. Aisha radiallahu anha reported that Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam had said, dhikr khafi, remembrance without voice, which is not even heard by the malaika, is rewarded 70 times over, when on the day of Qiyamah, Allah will summon all the creation for judgment, and the Kiraman Katibin, recording light beings, will bring the recorded accounts of all the people. Allah will ask them to verify if there is any more good deed to the credit of a certain individual. They will submit that they had not left out anything in the recorded account. Allah will then say, there is yet one good to his credit which is not known to the malaika, and it is the dhikr in silence. Bayhaqi has quoted on the authority of Aisha that the dhikr that is not heard even by the malaika is 70 times superior to the dhikr that is heard by them. The following Persian couplet refers to the same thing. Between the lover and the beloved, there is a code of communication that is not known even to the reporting light beings. Ma'ashara Ashuk, Ashak, lover, beloved. I don't know that also. So, but anyways, how fortunate are the people who do not remain idle from dhikr for even a moment. In addition to the reward they will get for their bodily worship, their dhikr and meditation throughout their life will earn for them 70 times extra reward. It's for this reason that the devil remains worried. Junaid, Rahmata alayh, is stated to have seen Shaitan absolutely naked in a dream and asked him whether he did not feel ashamed of the men around him. Are these men? Replied Shaitan. The men are those who were sitting in the mosque of Shonazia, who have worried me so much that my body has become lean and thin, and my heart is burnt. Shamyaza, kind of variations of that remind me of that, but that may have no connection to that place. So my heart's become lean and thin, and my heart is burnt. Junaid Rahmata alayh writes that he went to the mosque of Shonazia and saw that a few men sitting there were deeply absorbed in meditation. When they saw Junaid Rahmata alayh, they told him not to be misled by the false words of the wicked Shaitan. Similarly, Musaheh has also written about a dream. On seeing Shaitan in a naked condition, Masuheh asked him whether he did not feel ashamed of being naked in the midst of men. Shaitan replied, By Allah, if they were men, I would not have played with them, as do the boys with their playing ball. Real men are those who made me ill, and he pointed to the group of Sufis. Abu Sa'id al-Qazzaz also states that he once saw in a dream that Shaitan attacked him and tried to beat him back with a stick, but Shaitan did not care for this beating. Then he heard a heavenly voice saying that Shaitan is not scared away by the beating, but is only frightened by the spiritual light in the heart. Sa'id radiallahu anhu is reported Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam to have said, the best dhikr is the kafi, silent one, and the best livelihood is that which is just enough, i.e. it should neither be too little to make both ends meet, nor should it be too much as to drive one to pride and sins. In another hadith, Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam is reported to have said, remember Allah through Kamil dhikr. When somebody inquired, what is Kamil dhikr? He replied, Kafi, silent dhikr. Of all the above quoted sayings, establish the excellence of dhikr in silence. We have also read the hadith that favors loud dhikr, as if by a madman. Either form of dhikr is important under different sets of conditions. It is for the sheikh, religious guide of a person, to dictate the best form of dhikr for him at the particular time. Well, we should be able to figure out on our own. But now the playing of musical instruments and some of the stuff that was said. But when Prabhupada went out into the streets to chant Remembrance and bring people to the point where they were remembering God, or at least some conception of God, this had merit that's in calling the attention to.